This is the Lekker Rugby Pod with Harry Jones and MV Welman.
How's it, Harry? I promised you I'm going to say, how's it, Harry? And then you have to go, and then I'm doing exactly that. Go. What did you see? What did you feel? How did it go?
Come on, man. That was some serious peri-peri sauce at the end. I loved how it ended, by the way.
Yeah.
Like 7 tries to 1, but I refuse to let you have the second one. I love Yebedetsabeth on at the end, actually involved in reaching over and taking the ball and saying, no, not today, not going to finish on it. I love the niggle at the end. I love all that. I love how every time there was space, the Boks were trying to try something different, something more. The counter ruck by Andre Pollard, one man counter ruck, takes the ball up and ends up with a weird, cheeky, over the top kick. I love the fact that there's no debate about Mani and Polly. Who cares? Yeah, exactly. Andre Pollard scores. He directs about 21 points in 15 minutes, but set up by amazing attack by Mani and the front end, and then Jaden showing that, Jaden versus Jordan Hendrickson must have been a hell of a battle back in the streets trying to see who has the kickoff.
Yeah.
But no, from start to finish, we're going to play every test in Nelspruit. That's for sure. So there's no reason. Just build pubs all around that place. Let's just move everything to Mbombela Stadium. It's so loud. There was a great scene of a little girl. I felt sorry for her, but at some point, I think Fassi's kick, which I'm going to call the Kepathi, the kick pass that is done by the Church of Fassi, it skids off and Curtly Arnsa doesn't ground it. But the roar when the crowd thought it was a try was so big that this poor little girl was in agony, trying to close her ears. And it was so funny. Listen, there was no mercy tonight. In Spanish, we say no misericordia, no mercy, no mercy. And there was something on there. There was a little bit of spice, as we predicted. We don't like to talk about it, and players are not allowed to say it in press conferences. But revenge is a big factor in sports. If you do me 1 week, I want to get you the next week. And there was a little extra spice there at the end. Peter Steph Toy, man of the match, man of every match probably, surrounded by some Pumas, and they're all nipping at him. Fassi comes over to save Peter Steph. No need, Fassi, just leave him alone. And it just felt like there was an extra measure of attitude. But no, listen, the attack scheme of Argentina was easier to read from the beginning. It was a pacey game. At the end, there were hands on hips and there were hands on heads, but there were none of those in the Boks. We didn't do a bomb squad en masse substitution this time. It was incremental. So you just saw people coming in and out just when they needed to go. Malcolm Marks, I think, on pretty early. I think then you have like this succession of people coming on just when people were giving out, just when they were having a little bit of trouble, they were out. So there was never a let off. And then we've talked a lot about how the Argentinians were relying on a very clean 2024 rugby championship with no cards. And then they reverted back to the mean. They got all the cards in the final match. And there could have been more, actually. How did you see it from the bush?
No, well, let's first talk about Mani, because everybody was talking about it. And I actually ran a poll on the live commentary we were doing, because there was one guy going off about get Mani off, and Mani's bad. And I said, okay, let the people watching decide. We had 1,300 votes, and 89% of them said Mani had a blinder. And I agree. Mani was, for me, if he wasn't the man of the match, he was a pretty close second. He was brilliant, make no mistake.
Oh, it was so good to see Mani have fun. We saw him in the picture, that the famous videos they're putting out nowadays of the Bok camaraderie and close fellowship. And you saw Mani in there flexing. He actually had his guns out. And I was like, he was trying to make some gun. I'm not sure that actually his arms touched the actual sleeves. But he tried. And I told you at that moment, I think I WhatsApped you and said, no, we're good now. So there was no emotional lapse. Rassi knew his man. Rassi and the coaches, they knew exactly how to buoy him up. Jaden takes over the kicking. So one category, it's like you're in school and you're good at everything. Like you're the best student in everything, but you have this one problem, which is whatever, physics or literature. And someone says, no, you don't have to take that course this year. It's great. So Mani didn't have to do any of that. And what it showed is that his kicking out of hand became better. I'm talking about, the basics to the line and so forth. So that was nice. Jaden, was converting things. And so that was cool. But I thought the way that Mani was putting the ball in front of people, just exactly on target, has this roll-on effect, the steamroller effect, so that when there is space and it's going, everyone is running at full pace. It also means that when you're the guy out there, you have to start running. There's no hesitancy. And that fluency of attack meant that the third guy, over and over, there was a third guy getting the ball in space. And we talked a lot about how if you can get the third guy in space, that second pass, third pass, that, because then you have Lekkerbacks and they're untackleable. There's a big problem with free will when you watch Cheslin Kolbe. Like, that there's free will. We know that we have some element of choice. But when a defender faces Cheslin Kolbe in space, you know exactly what he's going to do. Like, you even know what he's going to do. He's going to step off the right and come into you, and there's no way to stop it. It's not even a question of, we know something you don't know. Like, we actually know what you're going to do. Everyone knows what Cheslin Kolbe is going to do, and he still does it. But if you can get the ball to him with that extra second, then he gets to do that thing to you. And, poor Pumas, there's nothing they can do about it. There was just nothing they could do about it. So Mani does have that ability to hold, and it's almost like a mini dummy. He gets into space and he reads it, and instead of just taking contact simple, he holds it for another beat and then puts that ball right in front of Fassi, who has the ability to reach and accelerate into it. And so suddenly everyone's off to the races, and it makes everyone quicker. Although I got to tell you, I love seeing Jesse Creel when he has to fend someone in the trams. It's just a thing of beauty. Like, again, he's going to offend you, but there's nothing you can do about it because, his arms do fill the sleeve. I thought that Gonzalez was wasted out on the wing, trying to defend those Mani forays. I thought the Pumas kind of stuck too much with what they had done in Santiago. And against Mani as a starter, it didn't really work. Now, I understand that he went off at 27-7 and the final score was 48-7, and I get that. So I'm not saying that Mani took it to the cleaners. But he set up so much space that I didn't think the Pumas had any way to guess where they were going. Whereas with Pollard, you always kind of know what's going to happen. You might do it well, but you kind of know where it's going. So for 60 minutes, Pumas were run to shreds, and then the cards were inevitable. They were not just mistakes by the Pumas. They were forced cards. Those were cards of desperation. The speed of the chase on some of those things, like when Kurti Arnsa runs down whoever was covering from Argentina, and he was there in a matter of seconds. It showed you levels of fitness. And the crowd, I want to go back to the crowd. The crowd was so loud, and the crowd was so loud in a proper way that it felt like it gave every single Bok an extra leg, an extra burst, an extra tendon and ligament. So potent side, and you saw the difference of a championship winning side, one that knows how to be there. During the week, I published a chart that talked about how many young players Argentina had, so they'll be better for it. This is a huge learning curve for them. So many of them under 25, and also some of them had played some big tackle counts. And every single guy that I had listed in Argentina that had 10 or more tackles really struggled today, and down to the guys who had cards. I mean, or got injured or were off the pace. So there's something very smart about how Rassi and co have managed minutes and impacts, not just minutes, but actual impacts, like G-forces. And all through the World Cup, they did this. And I think they planned this out. I'm never going to say it was okay to lose in Santiago. You've got to win every game you're playing. But one of the big things was to marshal minutes. I also think you and I have talked about this all season. We had to learn to be top dogs. And it's one thing to say that, but there's no possible way in which we were underdogs this time. Everything was set up where it was a banana skin. Argentina had no pressure. And it was really good to see the Springboks handle that by going 48-7. Not 24-21, not winning by 5. We knew they'd win, but it was nice to see them bury someone, to actually put them in their place and say, not yet, young man. You're not ready for this. We are the top dogs. I like that it ended in some niggle too. I like that. I like. Some people said, no, that's a shame. That's terrible. It's a shame we pushing people around. I think that's fine. I think there was a lot of pressure and a lot of talk both ways, and that just shows you how for both teams it meant everything. It meant the world. And Felipe Kotopomi can be so proud of getting his team to this point, you know, clearly eclipsing the All Blacks as the actual rival. No matter how the standings end up because of how it all worked out, Argentina was there in the final, in the knockout, and that was cool. What did you think about some of the players that we had some circles around? You know, there were some players that we were looking at pretty closely. I had a hard time seeing anyone have a bad game today.
I wanted to talk to you about Fassi, because to me, standout player, apart from Marnie and Peter Steff, who's always there. I mean, he's just, like he's always man of the match. Fassi was exceptional. I mean, that guy, he's the answer to the Willie conundrum, isn't he?
Yeah, it's a real ding-dong battle now between Willemse and Fassi. Fassi's ability to work off both feet, although Damien has that too. I think it's his spatial awareness. We talked about this earlier where I said people talk about Fassi not being a student of the game or something, or can he actually, coach, whatever. No, of course, he's not at Billy's level right now to understand the game. But he has something that Billy will never have, which is the ability to get from A to B, not only in a quick way, but also to know exactly how long that takes. Like internally, he knows how many steps and half steps, like a high jumper. Like those guys, you can plot where they go before they jump. He just knows exactly where to jump, where not to jump, when to leave, and that's called athletic superiority. He just has that, and so there were moments where I looked at him kick chase, and he took some off. He slowed down because he wanted to time his ascent. He's going to get a lot of cards on other people in the aerial game because he can sky. He's got the hops, but also he knows when to jump. And so if you jump that late as the receiver, you're gonna get taken out in the air. So hopefully he learns how to fall softly and relaxes. But I thought Fassi was brilliant. He saved both fly-offs a couple of times with his ability to pick up maybe not optimum throws from both. In the wash-up, you'll think Marty and Andre both threw perfect. They did not. Fassi was like a slip fielder behind the wickets, and not only does he catch it, he's able to recover and get his feet. There's just something incredibly athletic about the kid. And also, I think he showed a level of, he was barking out orders. I mean, I thought Fassi, and I was also happy to see Mani do. Mani was telling Peter Steff where to go a couple of times, and I thought, good on you. We need voices out there. If you're going to replace a guy like Billy, it's not just the try assists and the stuff on the field. It's also, can you make yourself heard? Will you treat each other like brothers? And it's not like, you're the uncle and I'm the young kid. No, we're brothers. And so that was brilliant. I was actually also really heartened to see the scrums. I told you this would happen. The scrums were adjudicated properly. I'm going to have it of not talking about the ref's name, so I'll just stay that way. Really good to see that you couldn't pull out of the contest and fool someone. Really good to see that you had to take the hits back. It's been back for 3 or 4 years, and really nice to see the front row get some change, get some go forward and some monstery. Like make the guy squeal. Like let scrums be about making someone squeal a little bit, and I thought that carried over into all parts of the game. Springbok rugby from time immemorial has always talked about if you win the scrums and you really monster the scrums, it carries over into other parts of the game. I thought that the Pumas were demoralized by the scrums and emasculated. And it was difficult for them to come back from that because I don't care how big and tough and hairy you look. If someone is making you squeal at scrum time, when you look at each other, on the next break, it's not the same. So no mercy, no misericordia. Argentina definitely has a team that they can come back with in years to come. They're trouble in 2027, but not yet. Not yet. They didn't have the didn't have the pedigree to be able to, when crunch time happened, to fight their way back into the match. What they couldn't do is what we did in Durban, which is almost win that match even though we were down by crawling back in. They kept throwing wide. They kept throwing into places where jackling could happen, and then the patience of the Boks by when you have a card advantage. Here's what a lot of teams do wrong. They say, "Oh no, we're up by one man. We're 15 versus 14, 15 to 13. So let's throw it wide and go quick." That's kind of what was starting to happen near the end. Pollard comes on, and you kind of see the experience there of the Leicester Tiger, Montpellier Springbok winner. He's like, "No, just keep going through what we actually do, and then the overlap will be apparent." And then you can have the kick by fast till you get to the end, or then you can have that, maybe like maul, like do a maul, like do a drive, keep the ball in front of your forwards, and then the overlap will present itself. Good to see some of the angles and the lines that Fassi runs. I'm loving the lines that Jesse Creel is making from the outside in. And no, I think late in the match, Vincent Koch, who's got to be the toughest oak in the world because of the hits he takes on his head. Looks like he had shrapnel blow up in his face. And there's a ball squirting around on the ground. I don't know, it's like 76 minutes into the game. And it's Koch who plunges to the turf. He knows he's going to get hit by 5 RGs, and he collects the ball. That turns it into the try, where Pollard does a clever little kick over the top, bounces up very nicely, top spin into Creel, and it's night. So and by the way, I like when Ox, Marks, and Koch are on together. That's my favorite. That front row sounds fun. Ox, Marks, Koch. Like that is just basically my favorite front row sounding. It sounds like some kind of tank that they were invented in Germany in the 18th century, or maybe a medicine they used to prescribe. But no, it's just time to have joy in the morning, celebrate Nelspruit, Mbombela, and the fact that this team is cooking up some wonderful sauce. It's gonna be a hell of a team, and the only one so far that we can think about right now is Ireland that can withstand us in this kind of mood.
Yes. All right, we'll talk in much more detail on Monday, the Lekker Rugby Pod, episode 27. I don't want to go into too much detail, but it was important to get this out there. And I also want to remind people tomorrow night, Sunday night, your second confession is going to drop. That's an interesting one. You'll love it.
Oh, jeez.
This is the Lekker Rugby Pod with Harry Jones and Welman.